Hello everybody, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Where we take a look at these markets, we do it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we ask ourselves, what happened today? What might it tell us about the coming days? I do this show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube under the channel L.A. Little. Boy, talk about the markets. What did they do today? They were down on the day. Russell almost break even, everything else down. Industrials were the most, almost 0.5%, elsewhere about a third. It did start out higher last night. I was thinking that we'd probably try to bounce this market. They did try to bounce it, but they just couldn't hold it. The situation over in Europe is enough of a bleed to keep things going. And then we've got the negative internals here on our market that is giving no support. Without Asia and Europe pulling this market higher, this market can't go higher, and that's really kind of what we're seeing. So it was pretty flat pretty much everywhere. Oil was down the most in the commodities space, everything else almost flat. Let's go to the indexes here, look at them. So you get another down day, volume a little bit higher. There's really not a lot to look at here. You're coming back into the bottom of this bar. That's the June 18th low. And you know, if you want to kind of slice and dice this thing, you know, what you could do is you could look at this and say, okay, you kind of got a range. Actually, let's draw that again. You kind of got a range taking place here, right? And one up underneath it. And they're about equidistant. You're coming back in to test into that lower boundary. That lower boundary is kind of defined by what I was just talking about, that bar, because you can see a lot of price points on that bar. And you had one here, that was that swing point low, and so forth. So this is kind of the critical area if you're looking at just the NDX and asking, okay, what is it doing? If you you know, expand out and you go over and you look at the Nasdaq's actually coming back in to do the bullish retest regen. It did get back into the bar today. You've got that bar, you've got the other bar that's right up underneath it. It's into both of them. It did stay into them. That's a slight negative, nothing big though. You're just coming back, you're doing the retest regen. NDX, a little bit more narrow. Apple couldn't do anything. This thing just barely pulls back a little bit more. And if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to take and, you know, split hairs, this one also has kind of a range trade that's taking place. You know, one after another, you kind of got these ranges that are going on, and it's trading right back to that range boundary. And you know, you've got this big bar that was a quad witching from last week. It's into that area. This is kind of the area where if the buyers are going to take charge, it's going to be right in this area. Finally, if you go to the Russell's coming back, also trying to do a retest regen off the prior swing point high. That was broken. That would be a bullish retest regenerate. The price point today on the low side was 12.7857. That high was 12.7863. Actually got into it. I didn't realize it. So it did come into it. Right, volume lower, right? That says it wants to try to bounce back up and hold. So, you know, the two indexes doing the test, Nasdaq, Russell, those actually are holding pretty well. You got the Russell rebalancing tomorrow. I'm not sure how that will affect things. You've got the Greek situation where, you know, really, if they can't get a resolution this weekend, I don't know how they can get this done in front of July 1st, which is, or June 30th, I guess, which is when the payments are due. So, you know, it's kind of down to crunch time. I don't see much more room for wiggle in Europe. Although, if you look at the European equities, they don't seem to be all that concerned. Now, maybe that's because they have sold down a lot more than we have. And if I pop over there and bring up, say, the CACs, for example, you can see a slight pullback today. Actually closed just slightly lower, no volume. Look at the DAX. DAX comes back, does the same thing, almost no volume and no change in price. So both of these are hanging up here, apparently expecting a resolution in order to try to shoot higher. So, you know, when I look at Europe doesn't seem to be that concerned. If I go over to Asia, Shanghai market comes back, it's into the hammer reversal bar, you got a little bit more volume. Usually in a case like this, and this is a surprise, I thought it would actually try to climb more. In a case like this, and in this particular case, this area down here to me kind of looks like the key area, about halfway down on the bar. And so as you come about halfway down, that's about where you should probably hold. If this is going to trade higher now, it's not going to violate this low. If it does, it's a totally different story, and that range is going to get built out now, and it's going to get built out fast and probably ugly because this has gone up a long way. So if you go up, you do this down, right, you could see the kind of damage that could be done, bring it all the way back to April. So this is going to be kind of a key area for Shanghai. And finally, if we go over and look at the Nikkei comes back slightly, going to try to come back in and do a bullish retest, regenerate off this prior swing point high. And then if we go over to Hong Kong, remember Hong Kong had pushed higher, did a doji. That was ripe for some sort of a pullback, and that's what you got. If we look at the OX markets, there's really nothing there. So let's go look at the sectors, because on the sectors, you've actually got some more damage tonight. And I'm going to pop right into those. The industrials breaks down, breaks two swing points lows. This goes down to a negative, bearish reading now as it sends prices lower. On the weekly, if I pull that over, you can see it's breaking here as well. So again, tomorrow, a key day, right? You break on multiple time frames, just increases the probability that you're going to go lower. Where was the money coming today? It was coming off of the Supreme Court ruling on the Obamacare. Healthcare held up. If you look at biotech, biotech did pull back a little bit. And if you look at another area that continues to get hit, it's the transports. The transports, again, under the swing point low, they've continued to expand to the downside off this break, right? Little congestion, now a continuance. I've told you before, I expect them to get into the high of the high volume low, 146.28. It's trading at 147.62, almost there. So this is running its course almost to its target. Elsewhere, different story, right? Some of these are just starting to break down. Here's another breakdown. Took place yesterday on the XLB. And, in general, you've got weakness. XLE breaks down again. And finally, if we look at the financials, they're starting to fade back in. And I'm taking the strongest sectors now. Here's consumer discretionary, also fading back in. And finally, technology, also fading back in. So market's getting to a point where it's going to have to stand up and try to rise. Because if it doesn't, you're going to get enough damage to actually send this thing lower. Coming into the end of the month, end of the quarter, that's typically when they try to push things higher, send out those statements looking positive at the end of the quarter. It doesn't always work that way, but that's certainly what the players try to do with it. They try to pile into those things that are doing well, like an Apple or so forth, and then ride those into the end of the quarter. But so far, this end of the quarter is not playing out that way. And I think it's all going to depend on what Greece does, right? If Greece, if we find a resolution this weekend, and we're not going to get it tomorrow because there's no meetings. If we find a resolution this weekend, you're going to open up higher on Monday. If you don't, you're probably going to open up lower. And so, if you're looking at this and you're saying, what should I be doing? Just recognize that Monday you could get a spike up or down based on whatever happens this weekend, because we're back into quote unquote the crisis situation where they are going to have to reach a resolution or face the music, one of the two. It's going to be a short one here tonight. I don't have much more to say. As far as tomorrow, my confidence level's pretty low. We could get a bounce. I don't. The hard thing here is the internals don't look good. They haven't looked good, and now they're starting to be weighing this market down because you don't have the strength elsewhere. If you get strength elsewhere, this market will pop and run right back up to the highs. The good thing, still holding those bullish retest regens on the two breakouts. If those start to cave in, I'm not sure what's going to hold the market up unless you get the resolution in Europe. So tomorrow, big day. You got 2 or 3 things that to watch. And then Sunday we'll do a wrap up on a weekly basis, and by then we'll probably know what's happened in Greece and be able to talk about the consequences of whatever that is. Have yourself a great night. Thanks for joining me. Take care. I got to run. See you next time. Bye.